Okay, so hola todo. I'm sorry, but I will do the presentation in English, and I hope if I do a next seminar that it could be in Spanish. So, as Nicolas said, I'm here to present a part of my work that I've done during my PhD, entitled Drivers of the Future European Atmospheric Composition. So, a quick reminder about the pollutants. So first, pollutants are emitted from either naturally sources, that could be volcano, for example, or forest, or linked to human activities, such as surface transportation, agriculture, and so on. So the pollutants are in the air, and they will face various meteorological conditions, like the wind could transport the pollutant from one country to another, the rain could clean the atmosphere by wet deposition, and also there will be some chemistry in the troposphere, like pollutants could combine together and form secondary pollutants. So those three factors will lead to atmospheric composition, and if for a certain pollutant the pollution will reach a threshold, we can speak about air pollution. But here we are mainly interested in the future development of that, so the emission in the future will be function of the policies that our government will do, and the meteorology will be function of the climate change. So now we will see the links between atmospheric composition and climate change. So from the work undertaken by IPCC, we know very well the impact of atmospheric composition on the climate change, like some pollutants has a warming effect, such as ozone and black carbon. And for like 10 years ago, I guess, we studied the climate change on atmospheric composition, that effects that will mainly interest us. So like some meteorological condition driven by climate can lead to pollution episodes such as the heat wave, like stagnation and so on. So that will be our interest. And first, there is two important things. The impact of the variation of the physico-chemical processes, and secondly, we will have an interest about the impact of the variability of this forcing in the future, in a future climate. So basically, like one really important process that will lead to pollution nowadays could evolve less. I mean, the forcing could evolve less in the future and be less relevant in a climate change impact study. So the aim of the work here was to rank the driver of the future European atmospheric composition. So first, we will study the climate change impact. Like for example, warmer temperature will lead to more pollution. And then we will put into perspective with the impact of the expected reduction emission in the future. So how to quantify the impact, the climate change impact on air quality? So the state of the art is to use ensemble-based method with lots of models to have a response and the uncertainty associated with the effect. But the issue here is the very important computation time. So I will present you several studies that have been published in Europe, but there is also lots more outside of Europe. So here is a table adapted from Jacob and Wiener. So it's a table, okay, you have the modification of the meteorological variable in the future and the associated effect with the pollutant that could be either ozone or fine particles. So, okay, for example, a rise of the temperature will lead to an increase in ozone concentration. And it seems logical because ozone is a secondary pollutant that need shortwave radiation and temperature to exist, let's say, and it will cause a decrease in fine particles concentration, and that's related to the process of gas phase particle. So with a warmer temperature, the particle will turn into gas. So we can also have a look, for example, at the precipitation. So more precipitation will cause a decrease of the fine particles, and that's mainly due to the wet deposition, which is a major sink of particles So it's an interesting table that gives lots of insight on how meteorological variables and pollutants work together. But this study has been performed by perturbing only one meteorological parameter into a chemistry and transport model after one. But in a future climate, all these parameters will evolve together. So in our case, we need to take into account all these variables. So, okay, here is a schematic view of how we can explore and quantify the uncertainty. Okay, so you have like one climate model, one chemistry model, and you obtain one concentration. So that gives you an insight about how it will evolve in the future. So we call that here, let's say, a unique quantification. So if you want, it will be a good first guess. But if you want to better cover the uncertainty, you need a multi-models study. So like you have two different climate models, two different chemistry and transport models, and then you have like the mean or the median of the response, and you can have insight on the uncertainty. But the uncertainty is aggregated, that you can say if the uncertainty is due to the different chemistry and transport model or due to the different climate model. So to study the climate change impact, you can use, for example, two climate models into one chemistry and transport model, and now you will have the climate uncertainties. And to better cover, the idea is to use an ensemble of climate models. And if you want to cover also the air quality uncertainties, you use two ensembles, but the computation time is just really high. So a recent study about ozone and climate change, which use an ensemble approach here. So quick reminder, it studies the climate impact only. So this map presents the evolution of ozone, of summertime ozone in the future compared to nowadays. So we can see an increase around the Mediterranean Sea and also in the Eastern Europe, and probably a decrease of ozone in the northern part of Europe. But there is also another interesting finding about that, is that since it's a multimodal study, we can see that the rise here in concentration has the agreement of 2/3 of the model, so it could be qualified to robust. So the climate penalty will be robust for ozone here, but there are large uncertainties remaining in France, for example, or in Iberian Peninsula. So if we have a look now about the particles and climate change, so here I present a study from La Cressonnière, a multimodal still with 4 regional climate models and 4 chemistry and transport models. So it's about PM10 here, and these maps of Europe shows the evolution in the future compared still to nowadays. So, but we have both signal of climate and emission changes, and so the main conclusion is that the concentration will decrease in the future. But if we take a look only at the climate change impact, we can see that there is more likely an increase due to climate change, and possibly to like the boundary condition, more dust and so on. So from those two figures, we can say that there will be a climate penalty or benefit on PM10 depending where we look at. The emission impact is much larger than the climate one, like if you look at the color bar. And but there is no agreement between all the models here. I mean, the agreement of the model are shown by the dots, like here and here. So there are a large part of the domain without agreement between the model. And if we decompose the signal with the different chemistry and transport model used, we can see that the patterns are really different from one model to another. And so those discrepancies are due to the different meteorological impact, or the different processes in the chemistry and transport model, but we can guess because the uncertainty is aggregated. So in this thesis, we would like to perform that kind of study, so using an ensemble of climate model to feed one chemistry and transport model, and to better cover the climate uncertainties. So I will first present you the study of climate change impact on air pollution, and then I will compare it with the expected emission reduction. So how to overcome the problem of the computational time? Here we choose a statistical approach. So we got several climate fields, also pollution fields, and then if we will build a statistical model that explains for a particular region the pollutant concentration with the key meteorological variables. So okay, we have a quick look about the data. So all the simulations were already performed for my thesis, so I've just do some data treatment, let's say. So the climate input comes from IPSL WRF, and okay, there is a lot of information, but we are mainly interested in the variables studied here. So we use specific humidity, precipitation, wind speed, radiation, temperature, and boundary layer. And for the air pollution, we will mainly focus on fine particle, ozone, and I will only present those two for this seminar. So here is just the map of the region we will study. And if you know a bit about Cordex, this region were defined in the ancestor of Cordex called Prudence, which was, I think, a European project, but I'm not sure. So the statistical model itself, we will use here a generalized additive model, and they will be built during the historical period, if we refer to the time series here, and tested at the end of the century. So they are based on daily average data aggregated to this region. And the main interest of this type of model is that it allows a nonlinear relation between pollutants and meteorological data. So more likely nonlinear, so it could be good. But the main problem could be overfitting. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it's, I mean, you have that kind of scatter plot that you want to fit, and if you are really too close to the data, you will reach all the points, but you will lose all your predictive power. If you have like a point here or here, your model won't be able to give a robust concentration. So we are more interested in doing a nice fit like that, and we hope we achieve it. So after building the statistical model, the idea is to apply it. So we use the ensemble of climate projection Eurocordex. I think it was like 12 models at that time, to feed our statistical model and to estimate some pollution fields. So basically we just replace the chemistry and transport model with the statistical model in order to perform an ensemble approach at a really low computational cost. So then we evaluate the statistical model. So the idea was to see if we can reproduce the concentration on the historical and also predict in the future the concentration. So we want to be here, and we can see that we have some regions that are where the statistical model are sufficient, let's say, to study the climate change impact on air quality. So for those regions, like let's say Mid-Europe, Eastern Europe, France, Iberian Peninsula, and northern of Italy. So what are the key meteorological variables that that the model finds? So now we have all our regions. So in blue, we can see that the two important variables are like temperature and shortwave radiation to explain the ozone concentration. Since ozone is a photochemical pollutant, it seems okay, let's say. And if we take a look at fine particle, we can see that for the three selected regions here, it's the main factors are boundary layer high and temperature. So boundary layer high could refer to the process of dilution, for example, and the temperature is mainly related to the gas phase particle and to some others. So, and now a quick overview of the method. So now I've spoke about like just the beginning. So we build a statistical model, and for the example here, let's say that the ozone concentration will be function of temperature and radiation. So we will create a parameter space of the climate variables. So here we put like the evolution of the temperature, and here the radiation. Then we use the statistical model that we built previously to estimate the concentration for each couple of points, and that's the ISO line like that. And then in this parameter space we will put our different climate models, so the distribution of the variable, so for the historical, and then we will add all the members of the ensemble CORDESC for the projection in the future, and we can study how they evolved, and with the background define, okay, let's see if they move like that, will be there more pollution or less pollution. That's mainly the idea, and maybe it's a bit easier if we can see the figure. So here I present the climate change impact on ozone in Eastern Europe, so for the end of the century, and no climate mitigation policy, so RCP 8.5 I guess. Yeah. So okay, first on the X and Y axis we find temperature and radiation, so the two main parameters that explain ozone concentration in this region. And then if we look at just the background of the map here, we see that the estimated ozone variation, so red more ozone and blue less ozone. For example, like you have less temperature and less radiation, and then you will have less ozone, and more temperature, more radiation, more ozone, mainly. So and now we will put our climate variables. So the historical is represented in a black dashed line like that, and all the other ISO line like that are the ensemble CORDESC. Each one represents one model. So to demystify, I don't know if it's an English word, let's say we can have a three-dimensional view, like you have the temperature and the radiation. So that's one model, and we will cut at a confidence interval of 70%. So all the points that are described here lies between one ISO line. So now if we analyze a bit together, we can see that, okay, there will be a shift of the model in the future along the axis temperature. So the dominant factor, dominant driver in the future will be temperature. That all the models are quite in agreement that there will be an augmentation of ozone. But there is also a clear dispersion between the model. Like if you look at the mean, for example, or this model and this model here have not the same behavior. So we say that there is a robust climate penalty confirmed for this region because all the models are in agreement, but some models show interesting behavior, and we can maybe use them later with a real chemistry and transport model to assess that. So here is the same figure, but for fine particle. So we found boundary layer and temperature. So we can see that there is a small decrease of the concentration of fine particle due to climate change. There is also a small dispersion, so could be a good agreement between all the models. And what is interesting here also is that, okay, the concentration variation, so in our historical data, were mainly dependent of the boundary layer. But in the future, we can see the evolution is mainly due to temperature. So it seems that temperature is more relevant in the future climate than boundary layer. So as a conclusion, we can say that there is a climate benefit. So the concentration of fine particle will decrease in the future. Okay, and just an ugly table, but that's mainly all the results for all the region we study, and just have like pointed out some model that have different behavior, just to say that the meta model has also been used like as a selection tools. So for maybe the 12 models of the ensemble, we can just take 4, and then the idea was to use a chemistry and transport model to do like which is far better than just a statistical model. So now the second part. Sorry if I'm a bit quick, but I have lots of slides. So here the aim, as I already told you, is to compare the climate change impact with the expected emission reduction. And so the usual method in the literature is to, let's say, build a matrix like that. So you have your base emission, your future emission, the same for the meteorology. And then you perform several simulations like that. And if you want to isolate one factor, let's say climate change, you can, for example, take future meteorological base emission minus base emission and meteorological base, and then you isolate the evolution due to one factor or another. But here we propose like another method based still on some stat, let's say, and the main idea is that a variation of concentration could be function of either the emission and the climate, and okay, that's the error. So if we have a schematic view, so here are the concentration differences, here are the year. So if we isolate the impact of emission, okay, there will be like a decrease of emission, let's say, so the concentration, for example, of ozone will decrease along the year. And as we have already seen it for a couple of regions, the meteorological impact, like climate impact, will rise the concentration of ozone. So if we look at both signal, and if we cross the zero, it says that the climate impact will be more important than the emission reduction impact, and like that we can find the year. Okay, that's the idea. Find if climate change will jeopardize the expected emission reduction. And for that, we use the emission proxies. So you have a variation of emission that is associated to a variation of concentration, and the variation of climate is associated to a variation of concentration for the climate proxies. So the climate proxy, I will go quick on it. It's based on the method that I have developed during the first part of the seminar. So the main difference is in the statistical model use. So we use here a stepwise regression, and we don't use the region. Now we do a mesh of models at 50 kilometers grid, and still we applied it with all the Eurocordex climate projection ensemble to have a mean and standard deviation to have a guess of the uncertainty. And the proxy emission is a tool which is developed in the frame of the Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution Convention by EMEP. So here we will consider like one pollutant, which is fine particle, and SOMO 35. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it's an indicator of ozone exposure. So it will replace ozone. But for this tool, unfortunately, the relations are aggregated by country level. So okay, we won't look that in detail, but okay, the fact is for fine particle, we can, the tool is based on several precursors of fine particle, like the primary particulate matter, nitrogen dioxide, sulfate, VOC, and ammonia. And for SOMO 35 on VOC and NOx. Another little, like, let's say, caveat is that we use the eclipse scenario for the emission, but it's just until 2050, unfortunately, so a bit shorter than our simulation of climate. So, okay, here I present what we will call emergence of the climate change impact, and it's in France. So first, we have still our differences of levels of SOMO here, our years. So we will put the emission impact. So here we study two scenarios of emission. So CLE, which stands for current legislation, and MFR for maximum feasible reduction. So we have, like, with a decrease of concentration, a large decrease of SOMO 35 concentration, and 35, sorry. And if you look at the maximum feasible reduction, it's even higher. And then we add the climate impact estimated by our tools. So that's for two various climate futures, so the worst and an intermediate one, so RCP 4.5. And then we can add both signal here, so climate and emission impact for current legislation and for maximum feasible reduction. And so what we can say is that the emission impact dominates like the climate impact, but for example here, if the emission impact is like constant and the climate impact still rise, for example almost here we can have a climate impact higher than the emission one, but well, still it's a bit of fantasy. But let's say okay, here is the same figure for fine particles, and since climate change will also decrease the concentration probably of fine particles, we will just have a climate benefit that will reinforce the large decrease due to the decrease of emission. And another interesting things of the tool is that it can allow us to let's say decompose the signal. So since it's based on several precursors, you can have the response in terms of what is due to one precursor or to another one, and also by emission sector. So that's kind of quite good information. So here just you see the evolution of emission in %. So there is, for example, a large decrease of surface transportation, which will cause a large decrease of concentration in SOMO 35.